everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Thank you for joining me on my channel where we cut and sew and see what happens. I first of all want to thank all of you for your kind wishes for the recovery of my elbow. It's doing much better now. Couple weeks where I couldn't really do anything with that arm, and at some point the swelling went down enough. The old massage therapist in me was doing some soft tissue stuff, and I heard a pop, something popped back into place, and it's been much better. Still not there, and I'm taking it easy, but it is much better, so thank you very much. And I was just starting to get the hang of mowing the lawn with one arm. My non-dominant arm at that. Thank heaven for electric mowers, so I didn't have a pole starter. Anyway, I'm much better, still taking it easy, not doing much rotary cutting, just trying to ease it back into being normal. So anyway, thank you all very much. You're the best. I want to talk today about this quilt. Let me zoom out a little bit. You can maybe see what it is. Yes, it needs a good pressing, but it's going to go through a lot more, so I don't need to go too crazy on the pressing yet. It continues to be an experimental piece, just trying out some new ideas. And what I ended up with is kind of a combination of several things, a little bit kind of appli-piecing, just regular applique. I think there might be a little bit of Jane Sassaman in here. I don't know. I was just winging it. I have done several quilts using the Appli-piecing method, which I really love. I'll leave a link below for a PDF that Caryl created for it. And then also you can check out Sheila Frampton Cooper's class. She's the one from whom I learned it, and good teacher. Anyway, that involves projecting the image on the wall, putting it on freezer paper, doing some other things, and then using the edge of the freezer paper to turn under some of the pieces. So I sort of like that idea, but the freezer paper just wasn't enough of an edge for me. So I thought, well, I'll try, say, an oak tag kind of paper or cardstock, because that's what they use for English paper piecing. Just fold it over, so use it as a template or a form. So I thought, well, let me just go a little heavier than cardstock, and I bought, a big old roll of a heavier oak tag. I think doing it again, if I didn't have 5,000 yards of the stuff already, I would go for a little lighter. I bought heavy oak tag. I don't know that I needed to do that. So it's got, quite an edge to it. And the thing that concerned me was that once I have this edge, so this is the template. So when I put this on the wall, projected the image, and then drew all my templates for all these pieces. My concern was that in the process of getting fabric and folding it over, that was going to add a little bit to the edge. And those edges are that little bit is going to keep adding up, so that would these in fact fit together? Was a little bit of a concern, was actually in reality a little bit of an issue, but I have pretty large pieces and not very many. On the whole, I'm not sure that, I don't know, if I were using smaller pieces, it might be more of a problem. I think it can be, even with the English paper piecing. So anyway, I found this much easier to use. With freezer paper, of course, there's a right and a wrong side. And I found that freezer paper if I had large pieces, didn't hold as much as I would have liked sometimes. And this way I could use both sides, which was both a good thing and a bad thing, because, I didn't have to worry about flipping the image when I projected it, like you would have to do for, any applique piece, because I could just turn the template over, which of course then I had to really keep track of which was was the top side and which wasn't. So I had to mark that. Things learned all along the way. So then this actually worked really well. I liked this edge for turning the fabric over. It's solid enough that even if I had dampened with a little bit of starch or flatter is what I used, or best press or whatever, it would still, the edge would still hold up. Now I couldn't soak it in water, but it still held up really well. The thing was that once I had turned it, I wanted to make sure that it stayed in place. So say I'm working on this side, particularly if it's a larger piece, and now I'm working on this side, I need to make sure this holds in order to get a good tight fit over the template. So I tried using painter's tape, and as someone pointed, and it didn't work for me at all. It just wasn't useful. I wanted low tack, so it would be easier to remove. And as someone rightly pointed out, not all painter's tapes are created equal, and fair point. Thank you for that. Then I tried masking tape, and goodness knows how long that was in my basement, but that worked better. In the end, honestly, what I did was use a glue stick. This one's a fabric glue stick, but you could use any kid's glue stick that's water soluble. Anyway, and I didn't just slather it on there, but I did put enough on to hold it so that I could form it all the way around, and then I could press it really well. And then when I removed it, you couldn't see it, and it was easily removed. It's meant to be able to remove the fabric piece from the template in the end for English paper piecing. Anyway, so that's the story of this stuff. Once I finished that, I had created, I had traced onto a fusible interfacing, a lightweight fusible interfacing, the pattern, so that I could use that to place the pieces accurately. And this is where the little bit of extra from the fabric over the edge played a role. Not too badly in my case because they're large and few pieces. But it did play a role. It's just something to be aware of. And then I decided that that was a pretty good method for me to do that, but in order to place them, because I have long seams, and I wanted, for example, this seam to be continuous, this yellow, that meant that everything had to kind of fit together to begin with, to be honest. So I ended up glue basting it onto this interfacing. Why do that instead of appliquing directly onto the background fabric, which is going to be white? Could have done that. I could have traced the pattern onto the background fabric, used a water soluble or air erasable marker or whatever, and that would certainly have worked. And I might end up doing that if I do this again, do that the next time. The reason that I wanted this on the back was to act as a stabilizer. Well, first of all, had the pattern traced on it, but to act as a stabilizer while I did the machine applique stitch with invisible thread over this. So I wanted some stabilizer under there. And I don't know, the fabric may have been enough. Next time I do this, I'm going to put it directly onto fabric. I ended up, because I didn't like the look of the machine applique, I may have done it on the Appli-piecing, but I didn't like the look of it here, didn't feel good about how it looked. So I ended up doing a ladder stitch. So I would butt these pieces up against each other because everything's turned under, which is an advantage because you don't have the concern about a darker fabric seam ghosting through. Now you get a little bit anyway but it's the same color. So once it's on the batting and quilted, it will not be as noticeable. Anyway, so I ended up doing a ladder stitch, pulling the two pieces together and also attaching it to this interfacing. So a ladder stitch is I would come up in one spot, down exactly opposite on the other side of the seam. And then I would go underneath a little ways and over to here, back over to the yellow, bring it up straight, and then down straight again. So it's just a little teeny tack stitch here, and the traveling stitch goes underneath. So I like the look of that much better. I like doing handwork, so that was fine with me. People who are better at machine applique might well choose the machine option. I think that would be fine. Depending on your quilt, you could also use different threads. I used invisible thread again, but if you wanted to accent it with something, you could use a different color of thread. And I think it would be kind of cool on the right quilt. See Jane Sassaman, by the way, who does awesome stuff. All right, so now where I'm at is I have finished appliquing this. I have trimmed back the interfacing kind of poorly right there, enough so that when I applique this onto the white, I am not also tacking this down with it, because I want the option of cutting this back to the seam, because I don't know that I want that on the back. I could be wrong. We'll have to see how it goes. As this is an experimental piece, I may try doing a little bit both ways. I did end up, I don't know if I mentioned this, glue the the fusible on here was, I don't know, pretty worthless to, in this particular case anyway. So I ended up glue basting again. So I could have used just a regular interfacing. Things learned. I'm trying to pass along what I've learned. So the thing with doing the trimming this is that it's going to leave a little bit of extra bulk under the seams, which already have bulk. So it will add more to the seam, but subtract some from behind. So I think that's going to create more of a ridge when I quilt it. That's my fear. So although I would like to have it off for the drapeability of it, once I get it quilted, and it will probably be pretty dense quilting, then I don't think that drapeability or lack thereof is going to really be an issue. And it's not a bed quilt. This is a wall quilt, so whatever. Pardon me while I keep doing this, because I know it needs a good pressing. Hopefully you will forgive me. Anyway, so that's where I'm at this point. And I think I'm still going to leave this in while I applique this to a white background. This internal white piece in here, I wanted that there so that everything fit together. What is left around the outside are the outside edges. So if they don't fall exactly in line with the pieces around them, there won't be any pieces around them. If things don't, there's nothing to line up, I guess, except that I want it to be straight on the background, of course. So that will still, because I've cut this back, and when I do the applique, it will miss this interfacing, so I can decide later on that I want to trim that back to the seams. I can't just trim it away completely, because there are, albeit small, there are some stitches on both sides of that interfacing. If I try to tear it, this is not tearable stabilizer. If I try to tear it, then I run the risk of pulling those stitches, which will definitely show on the front. So that's where I am with this piece. I think I'm at a point where my elbow can stand me doing some hand sewing, because I did test it out, finishing up the facing on Rockin' in the Key of C, which I think I've showed you, but I will put it here anyway, as well as a photo of what this is supposed to look like in the end. I still have some circles to applique because it's me, and you know, the Spinster does circles. if you have any questions about this or suggestions or what you would do differently, please include them in the comments. You always have useful comments, and I love hearing from you. I've missed you guys. Thank you for hanging in here with me while my wing was hurting. That is it for the moment. I need to see if I can do a bit of rotary cutting to work on my conglomeration of chaos quilt. And I do need to face straight up yet. I haven't gotten that one faced, I noticed. And then I've got a couple other improv things on the wall that I want to work on. So lots of things to work on. It's been kind of interesting. You really don't know how much you rely on your elbow's mobility to be able to do things until you don't have an elbow that works very well. I couldn't knit. I couldn't really draw very well. Just the things that I like to do, I couldn't do. I couldn't spin, I couldn't weave, and it's been hard on me to just sit back and relax. So I'm glad to have some mobility back. I hope all of you are doing well. If any of you are in any fire zones, I'm so sorry, and I wish you safety and health and well-being for you and yours. Those who are enduring really hot weather or floods or any kind of weather-related things, I'm sorry, my heart's with you. Please be safe and well. I will talk to you again when I'm able to show you something that you care about, or hopefully care about. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.